Boom, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Life as a Chad YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be. And of course, however you may be listening. Of course, I have the vaunted Trump mugshot shirt. Thought I'd rep it. Normally, I'll tell you the truth, guys. I think it is totally unmanly to wear any sort of name or let me backtrack, any man's name, like jerseys, things like that, unless it's like a retro jersey, like a old, like 1970s, from the day. But any present day man can't do it. Anybody besides Trump, I think it would be totally lame to wear their face on any piece of clothing that you wear. Now, as I have told a few people who, of course, know I have this shirt, to me, the shirt has far more to do with what it symbolizes, which is a fuck you to the establishment and the corruptness that is the elites and the system that they have created, than it has to do with Trump specifically. Not that, Trump, I like Trump perfectly fine, but it more has to do with that. Now, moving on here, topic of today's video. I'll probably talk more about these things in more detail in, condensed videos, and really hit each one of these topics, maybe not all of them, but one or two of them more individually. But I did want to discuss three topics today. One, Russell Brand and the allegations, not necessarily specifically about the allegations and Russell Brand, but kind of what my thought process is when I see these sorts of allegations against a powerful man. And it's very interesting. Just one quick thought on it before we completely dive into it. It's very interesting how it always seems to be against a guy who is starting to raise some questions, some eyebrows about the status quo. It always seems to be one of them. Now, of course, you have your Epsteins and the dude who was in Hollywood, whatever the fuck his name is. I'm not saying that never are these women correct, but they often have something related to a man who has challenged the status quo. Not always, not always, not always, but oftentimes it does. So I will discuss what I think when I see these types of allegations, by and large. The second thing is another conservative politician, female politician, just got caught in a sexual dalliance, shall we say, sexual repartee, if you will. And we're going to be diving into that because if you guys remember, I made a video on Lauren Boebert. And during that video, I found out that good old Lauren was getting divorced. The conservative, traditional, conserving the greatness of America, getting divorced. And it's just very interesting because the fundamental problem with modern day conservatism, and I think this has always been a problem with conservatism, is that currently, and like I said, this has existed in the past as well, there lacks a clear vision of conservatives are really good at pointing out what things are not going well, what the problems are. But what we don't do well is providing an alternative option, an alternative plan of how to fix it. And furthermore, we struggle to answer the question of what are we conserving? What are we holding dear that cannot go amiss? Now, you ask somebody like me, what are you conserving? It's easy because I've been a conservative my whole life, and it's rooted in a deep love for God, country, and the nuclear family. And most of it has to do with my belief in God. So, it's very easy for me to say what I'm trying to conserve. And of course, America, I would also add that America, was a country built by and started by European settlers. And I think it's important to maintain that, yada, yada, yada. The third story that we are going to discuss, this isn't a story, but just something I came across while watching Andrew Wilson. By the way, if you guys have not seen my interview with him, I suggest you guys check that out. He was on a panel and he intimated while giving one of the individuals on the show, I think her name is Naomi, super leftist, feminist woman. When he was giving her shit about her OnlyFans, he also brought up that Roma Army has an OnlyFans because she brought up somebody brought up Roma Army, and thus I found out that Roma Army, and I can confirm, it's very easy. You just look at somebody's link tree. She does indeed have a OnlyFans. So I am very excited to talk about all three of these stories. So let's start with Roma Army's thing. Okay. You guys know I did a video on her critiquing just pearly things. And how many times have I cautioned you guys from subscribing and listening intently to these female relationship gurus or female conservatives on YouTube or any sort of media platform? I mean, I've done it over and over and over and over again, because at the end of the day, folks, what I always remind you is you cannot stop a woman being a woman. And no matter how, as Rollo Tomasi, not that, you guys know I'm not the biggest Rollo guy. Okay. I have my disagreements with him, but as Rollo points out, it is impossible for modern day women who are born in the West to not have some sort of feminism inside them. Okay. And that's just the way it is. And, I just find it absolutely insulting that she goes on YouTube critiquing these women for their bad behaviors and their bad, not being accountable and shit like that. Meanwhile, she is a single mother having a child out of wedlock, fucking, doing OnlyFans, popping that thing online for millions of eyes to see. And it just becomes clear that 90% of the time, how these women get into the sphere is because they think one of the guys is cute and they really, really like him. They either have a real life boyfriend who's very red pilled, very conservative, whatever. And they kind of lean into it out of, respect, because women tend to follow the man that they're with, especially when they respect them, adore them, and so forth. And that's how they get into it. Or they see somebody online that they find attractive, but they don't see, women are very agreeable, and it's hard to ever truly know how firm and steadfast they are in some of these ideas and ideals and fundamentals. And that's why you just got to be careful. And furthermore, with the relationship bullshit, I always also say, you don't ask a fish how to catch fish. Okay. And you're going to sit here and tell me that Roma Army, who is a single mother, child out of wedlock, doing fucking OnlyFans, has any sort of enlightening info that she can provide you as a young man or man in general that you couldn't learn yourself by just being a man and operating in everyday life, or that you couldn't get from another guy. I mean, most of this shit she doesn't know from firsthand knowledge. She knows because of the shit she's watched herself, okay, and seen. She's just being agreeable. So, you have to be very, very careful with following these people. And at the end of the day, I've seen countless times examples of this shit being a business. And that is what this is about. This is about her wanting attention by any means necessary. She gets it through OnlyFans. She gets it through YouTube. But she's not living what she preaches. She's not living what she preaches. Now, she doesn't tend to be the most conservative red pillar, if you will. I mean, I said in my critique video of her that she is a liberal. She's a liberal, but she is red pilled when it comes to relationships to a certain extent. But that's it. That's it. Okay. I've seen numerous of her political takes that are liberal as fuck. It's just incredible. It's just, I mean, the world never ceases to amaze. Just when I, start to think, that can't be true. Oh, fuck no. Shit, there's no way. Boom, done. Bada bing, bada boom. Fucking OnlyFans, Roma Army, boom, done. So absolutely hysterical. I'm totally vindicated in my critique of her. I'll have to do more content, and this chick needs to be taken down. She needs to be taken down. And we're going to start doing it one video at a time. By the way, guys, anytime there's somebody that you wish for me to view their content, check it out, give my take on it, opinion, just let me know. Moving on here to the conservative women getting divorced. This came from Rachel Wilson on Twitter. Let's see. Kristi Noem, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene. What's going on? I feel like the Republican female politicians should be guests on At Whatever podcast. That's good, because they really give the 304 some competition. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem having an affair with Trump aide Corey Lewandowski. Come on, man. You cannot make this shit up. You can't. Now, who knows? Maybe this ends up being, mere hearsay and, not totally accurate. Let's read a little bit of it. Married Republican South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem has engaged in a years-long affair with longtime Donald Trump advisor Corey Lewandowski, multiple sources told the Post Friday. Though no images of the two getting frisky are known to exist, the pair have been less than discreet about their relationship, with one source recalling them making out at a hotel bar during the 2021 Conservative Political Action Conference in Orlando, Florida. Come on, blood. Come on, blood. I remember it was so absurdly blatant and public, said the person, this is what counts for journalism these days, the person who recalled Noem and Lewandowski getting handsy, little bit handsy. He's getting handsy at the bar. I've been watching a lot of Seinfeld lately. He's getting handsy at the bar of the Hyatt Regency. Man, I think back to my times at the fucking Hyatt Regency in Orlando. Fuck, those were some good times. With between 102 others around. It wasn't like 2 a.m., the source said. It isn't like we caught them at some dive bar miles away. It's a lobby bar where everyone is staying, and so there's a bajillion political operatives and journalists and electeds around. I remember I saw it with my own eyes, and a couple other people saw it, and the blatantness was absurd. And I was like, fuck, I can't believe they're doing this. So listen, guys, I mean, how old is it? Let's see how old this bitch is. Oh my gosh. I can't. If I see one more fucking article about Koof, I'm going to. What's her name again? Kristi. She's in her. She's 51 years old, guys. 51 years old. Man, but it again, guys, hypergamy at work. Hypergamy at work. And it's yet another example that women tend to be with men who are equal or better to them. And if that ever changes, they will drop them in a second. And I tell you guys this to say that, and especially you Christian men, because I think what needs to happen is this conversion of Christian ordeals and fundamentals and red pill knowledge about female nature. And I think especially in Protestantism, there's been this kind of cuckold type view of women and being married. They love me for me, and they'll love me until till the day I die, and through thick and thin, through richer or poorer, and all this bullshit. And it's just, I'm sorry guys, it's just not true. The only love that you will have that is unconditional is from a toddler. Maybe you can maybe extend that to kids just throughout their life, but definitely from a toddler, a kid all the way up to 10 years old, I would say. And your parents and grandparents. That's about it. That is about it. Otherwise, it is very conditional. And I can almost guarantee what happened is she becomes governor. She starts outperforming her man. She has more authority. She, in the all things being equal, which we're not, she is elevated to this position of authority that her man doesn't have. And she can no longer respect him. How does she respond? She goes and finds a guy who does have some authority, as he is an advisor to President Trump, one of the most popular men in America. How's that? Try that shit on for size. One leg at a fucking time. I just, like I said, guys, it never ceases to amaze. The other aspect to this is this kind of arrested development that exists in the West. Okay. And what I mean by this is, and there's another component to it, which is society. Men have made the West easier to exist as far as like resources and availability and things like that, easier than we've ever seen in any other point in history. And so what you end up getting are these people who have very little struggle, very little issue, they don't have to go through the same grind and struggles that are, just literally worrying about their next meal for survival that still much of the world is going through today. Okay. And you have that, and you also have the mixture of arrested development. And what you get is, and what I mean by arrested development are these girl, women, boy, men type situations where they're adults, but as far as their emotional intelligence, as far as, kind of their relational intelligence, and just how to operate as an adult, what is right, what is wrong, holding themselves accountable and shit like that, it's gone. And what they do instead is merely go after whatever will give them the next pleasure that they're looking for, fulfilling the next need. Guys, the society that we live in now, it has basically gotten rid of this whole concept of struggle. And, that is one of the reasons why I converted to Orthodoxy, because I believe in the struggle. I believe that it's important, that not all pain is bad, that in the long run, there's some pain that makes you grow and build character and the shit that matters, that actually matters. This is a 51-year-old woman who is governor, okay, holding one of the highest offices in the world, okay, governor of South Dakota, not that, it's not like one of the bigger states, but it's still very important, okay, where you are supposed to be an ethical, moral individual. As Ann Coulter said in her interview with William F. Buckley when it came to Bill Clinton, it's important to hold that office with the utmost regard and decency and morality and shit like that. Meanwhile, she's acting like a fucking teeny bopper at 51 with a Trump aide. And this is why in the first story, when it came to Roma Army, I said that, you asked me what we're conserving and what, that's the point that I wanted to get to. You asked me what we're trying to conserve, what is worth our attention and holding steadfast on, it's the family unit, it's God, it's the foundations of the Bible, it's your country, making sure that you leave this country better than while you were here, that it's going to be in a better place for your kids and your offspring. This whole concept of duty and a sense of what you owe for merely being able to exist in a country as great as the one we live in now, even with the problems that it currently has in the modern day West, it's all out the window. And this is actually a really tragic thing. And honestly, I fucking hope that she loses in her next election, because this is embarrassing. And this is certainly not what I'm trying to uphold as a conservative. At least with Trump, it was all prior. Okay. It was all prior. And at least while he was running for president, some of this shit was taken care of. Okay. And he had it under control. I mean, when he became president of the United States, he was a married man with kids and had an intact family. And he was his goal was commendable in returning America to its glory. But this shit, fucking teeny bopper shit, making out at a CPAC event, how fucking embarrassing is that? And this bitch is 51 years old. She's probably already in menopause. Could not be more embarrassing. I hope she fucking loses. I could care less that she labels herself a Republican. Most of these chicks are not, because they're not upholding the values that I hold dear. They're not. They're just not. And I hold as much contempt and disregard for behavior like this from so-called Republicans and conservatives than I do for liberals and their whole coof madness. Okay. This is embarrassing. She should be ashamed of herself. Absolutely ashamed of herself. And this is, again, I ask you folks, fellow conservatives out there, what are you trying to conserve? What do you hold dear? Do you hold the sanctity of marriage dear? Do you hold it with the utmost respect between a man and a woman? Do you hold the vows that are said when you are married? Do you hold it dear? And the sad answer is, mostly in our governmental system right now, in our laws and in the actions of the public, the answer is no. The answer is no. All right, guys, moving on from and let's not get away from Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene. Both of them are divorced. They're divorced. As soon as they sought office, they got divorced. And this is what I'm saying about, the other major point here is hypergamy, which is once they get into a position where they now have more authority than their man after they got their seat in office, they can no longer look at their man in the same way and hold the same respect for them that they once had before receiving that power. Women are not like men in that regard. Okay. They're just not. They're just not. Okay. They need somebody at their level or better. And if you're not, they will leave you. Maybe not 100% of the time, but often. Often. This is embarrassing, guys. This is the state of the modern conservative movement. And if this is what we're fucking okay with, this country deserves to flounder like it's going to. It really, really does. All right, guys. Last thing to discuss here is Russell Brand, rather. He's had some allegations against him. And, my thought, like I said, I don't care to discuss the allegations themselves. Katy Perry's Russell Brand quotes resurface amid RAPE allegations. So listen, he may be guilty. I don't know. I haven't looked at the facts. Okay. I haven't. I don't really give a shit enough to. But I did just want to say, though, a few things that come to mind when these stories arise. I already said the first one, which is that oftentimes it tends to be somebody who, a man who has decided to challenge the status quo. And that's why I say, that's why there is a role for red pill knowledge when it comes to female nature to converge with, and I think much of the Bible is red pill. Like this is stuff that's in the Bible. It's just, any given point in history, there are some things that are emphasized and some things that are not. And for some reason, female nature, from the 1960s onward, was not something that was emphasized when it came to the Christian community. But you need to watch yourself as a man with these women, okay? And it is no joke, because believe you me, if it's your word versus a woman, I can almost guarantee you society will lean towards whatever the woman says, okay? And that's just the way it is. Now, as I said, it's very interesting that it tends to be against somebody who challenged the status quo. Like I said, he may be guilty. I don't know. I haven't looked at the facts. But the other thing, and this is the biggest point that I want to make here, that I find absolutely interesting, and why most of the time I have very little empathy for these situations, is because these women should be held accountable for their choices. When it comes to sex, women control access to sex, men control access to relationships. And far too often, now of course it's different when it comes to RAPE. Okay. All right. Obviously that's different. Okay. We're talking, I'm taking a concept from this. Okay. I'm not talking about this specifically. I'm taking a concept from it and talking about that. When it comes to these things, I always think to myself, I go, these women choose who they open their legs for. And far too often do they open their legs for these very powerful, these very wealthy, bad boy type men, when they could have just as easily chosen, some of those guys are definitely scumbags, when they could have just as easily been happy with an average good man. And so it always makes me, when I read these stories, it always makes me say to myself, again, RAPE is different, but even without this story aside, there are plenty of women who just jump at the chance to be with these hyper popular men, and they are ultimately the ones who provide access to sex. And I think that they should be held accountable for some of their choices. We always see on Whatever and Fresh and Fit and some of these relationship podcasts, we always see that when it comes down to it, and these women choose these bad boys and they go on the show, they go, all men suck. All men are pieces of shit. No. And the answer is no. It's the small percentage of men that you find attractive that tend to be a piece of shit. Now, of course, it's not all of them either. But you as a woman need to take accountability for the shit bags that you choose and the types of qualities that they tend to have that you just fall head over heels for, and totally look past the bullshit and slimy, shitty behavior. That is on you. So, that is what it makes me think about often. It's like, come on. We all know women are attracted to power and authority and wealth and resources. This kind of bad boy image, and then we see them turn around and cry wolf about this and that and say, well, all men are shitty, all men are bad, totally, totally neglecting the responsibility and accountability that they should be taking for their decisions. And that is why, if you'd asked me this when I was a kid, I would have said, no, that's crazy. Should fathers and brothers choose a man for their daughters and sister? But as you get older and you see how women choose men, I mean, I don't think it's that insane to think about, because not only do these women choose poor men, they don't take accountability either. So it's just ultimately it's a double whammy. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. That's going to be the show today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe. It's my first subscribe plug. I'd love to get to 1,000 subs in the next couple months here. Start monetizing this channel. If there's any content you would wish to hear me talk about, please let me know. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow. And facts are feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Love you, King. See you guys next time. Christ is King. Peace.